Talking to me about how you got into the idea of doing music, because you told me originally you never felt musically inclined, and then all of a sudden something stirred up inside of you, and now here we are. You're about to come out with your first song. Talk to me about that.
The journey to starting to make music. This is where people stop listening to me. This is where people stop following me when I start telling them about the plant medicines and the various things that led to it.
It depends on the people.
I never actually wanted to make music. It was never a goal of mine. I didn't grow up dreaming of being a rock star or a musician in any way. I didn't think I was musically gifted at all. I thought my brother and sister had the musical talent, and I was just like the logical, practical, like business dude. I was gonna be a businessman. And truly where the desire to make music came from was I'd been having this idea of turning my poetry into music, and I just didn't feel it. And then Angus actually came over to my house one day, and he was saying, I've really been thinking about this idea of turning your poetry into music, and I'd be interested. And then I found out how much it would cost to make an album, like a full album around it. And I went, there's just no way. I reached out to some of my friends, and they were like, you're not a musician. How are you ever gonna sell? Like, how are you ever gonna make that money back? Essentially, that was kind of the evaluation that so many people had. And I went into an ayahuasca ceremony, and ayahuasca said to me, you need to make this album. You gotta make it. And what you'll learn about me is I kind of follow the directions of my higher guidance. You can call it God, or my higher self, or the universe, or divine source, or like whatever the word is. It doesn't matter to me, but that like greater knowing said it was time. And so I surrendered into that, and I said yes to it. And my biggest fear was I was gonna just sit here and just watch Angus make all the music, and then he would say, okay, time for your poetry, and I would do my poetry, but it would be all Angus's music. And it was actually the process of making the album where I realized how much talent I had to make music. I started to hear music differently, and I know that you make music, so you like where other people hear like a jackhammer, you might hear a beat, or where other people hear a train horn and some other things, you might hear how it's like a melody. I started to hear music in life, and it helped remind me that art, like being an artist, is the lens that you wear. So it really unlocked even more of my own artistry, and I fell in love with music. I started to hear music. And then there was this particular workshop that I was leading at a festival in Thailand called Wonderfruit, and I lead this workshop called Life is Poetry. And people were blown away, and they came up to me afterwards, and they said this was the most incredible workshop. It was so life-changing. And there were like 30 people. It was the middle of the day, there were like 30 people at it, and I felt so good. And I walked out with my friends and feeling just floating. And then I look over and I see this music stage, and it's the middle of the day, like 3 p.m., 4 p.m., and there's 300 people dancing. And I thought to myself, how do I take what I just did for 30 people, but make it something that 300 people would show up to in the middle of the day? And I realized you have to put it to music. Music transcends language. Music is so important. And that started this journey of, okay, if I want to make the kind of impact that I desire to make on this planet, music gets to be a part of it. And those two events, so the first one was me learning that it would be possible, that I actually could do it, that I had a lens of music come alive in me, and then an understanding of the external of why it would be so important for me to do it. Those two things came together, and I decided it's time to make music.